You enter a room full of people, and after watching only moments from the sidelines, you have them all figured out. There's a man that's worth meeting, exuding confidence with a glass in his hand, laughing loudly and naturally together with everyone else around him about a joke he just made. Over there, closer to the bathroom, and around the walls of the room, you see the self-consciously ill-at-ease people who would prefer to not be in this room. They would like to be talked to and yet not to be talked to because they abhor small talk. To not encourage you further, they do not meet your eyes. And you don't because they are not so much of interest. And then there is the woman who does not really know anyone but would like to be a real part of the gathering. She looks longingly at the circus of laughing people but hasn't quite made it there yet. Oh, and over there's the one who always talks very loudly so everyone can hear her. So that's one to be avoided. A split second and you have made your judgments. You've read the room and you know your next steps. For us humans, coming to decisions and making judgments in the very moment is an essential ability that led to our survival until today. That is how danger can be assessed and avoided, benefits can be estimated, and social connections can be made. It is an important tool to prevent our brains from processing every single detail and therefore to avoid mental overload. Our view, however, isn't pristine. Personal biases, stereotypes, and past experiences can distort our perception of others. First impressions can be misleading. People might come across in one way but reveal more complex traits over time. Narcissists are brilliant in selling themselves on first glance, but not necessarily the people you want to be connected with. By relying too much on first impressions, we might overlook other people who might be valuable connections, have interesting ideas, or offer opportunity that just take longer to emerge. Why do I give you this lecture on party behavior? Because believe it or not, there is a connection to our gospel reading today. Jesus is standing in the temple courtyard with his disciples, shortly after pointing out the widow who gave her 2 last coins to the temple treasury. And as they take in the stunning surroundings, one of the disciples, clearly impressed by the grandeur, says to Jesus, "Look, teacher, what large stones and what large buildings." The Jerusalem temple at this time was truly an architectural wonder. Rebuilt by King Herod, the temple's walls were made of massive stones, some as long as 40 feet. The entire temple complex was twice the size of the Roman Forum and 4 times larger than the Acropolis in Athens. The historian Josephus even says that Herod covered the temple's outer walls with so much gold that anyone who looked at it in the sunlight could be blinded by the reflection. Clearly, the disciple is amazed by the temple's beauty and tries to share that awe with Jesus. But Jesus doesn't react the way the disciple expects. Instead of marveling too at the buildings, he asks, "Do you see these great buildings?" Well, why would Jesus ask that? He just pointed them out. They're looking at the same thing, right? They're not seeing the same thing, though. The disciple sees an incredible building, a symbol of strength and God's presence. For him, the massive stones represent the power and pride of the Jewish people, a bulwark of Jewish identity against the Roman occupation, a symbol of faith, permanence, and spiritual glory. It takes the disciple's breath away because he believes it represents something solid and unshakable, something that stands for the certainty of God's promise. But when Jesus looks at the temple, he doesn't see that. He sees destruction. He sees that everything the disciple admires will eventually fall apart. He sees fragility, not strength, loss, not glory. Not one stone will be left on the other. All will be thrown down. To Jesus, the temple's grandeur is temporary. It will all be torn down, just like everything else that seems permanent in this world. The dwelling place of the living God on earth will be broken apart. The gospel readings that we get at the end of the old church year, ending next Sunday with Christ the King, and at the beginning of the new church year, starting on December 1st, with the first Sunday of Advent, all emit an end-of-the-world feeling. Jesus said, "There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, on the earth distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken." Reading these words makes me wonder if there has ever been a time where there wasn't fear and distress among nations. Isn't that how we as humans are used to live together? Isn't that why Jesus came in the first place? To show us a different way? Be on guard, so that your hearts are not weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness, and the worries of this life, and the day does not catch you unexpectedly, like a trap. For it will come upon all who live on the face of the whole earth. Be alert at all times, praying that you may have the strength to escape all these things that will take place, and to stand before the Son of Man. This apocalyptic text sounds dreadful. And on our first impression, it sounds of fire and ashes raining down from the sky together with God's judgment. But what if God's judgment is love? And we are supposed to hold on to this love, to God and our neighbor and ourselves through this time. What if it is us, humans, who caused fire and ashes raining down from the sky? What if we are more scared of judging and being judged by each other so that we forget whose judgment really matters? What if we stopped looking for the most influential, confident, or powerful person in the room and instead started to look for the good person and the good in all people? We know, like Jesus did, that things fall apart, like the amazing temple. That is why we're doing the capital campaign, because our courtyard is not as beautiful as it was when it was planned and built 40 years ago. We know that money is important to achieve this goal, yes, but all the new courtyard is supposed to be is a vehicle for connection of our community and further growing in God's love in this world. To be honest, I hope we are right in the midst of it, the apocalypse. Because apocalyptic means unveiled. And that means we are losing our nearsightedness that limits our perception and our judgment to quick glances and unconscious bias. It would mean that we then will be able to grow in our minds and hearts, opening them so that we are expecting the unexpected. We will be able to tear away the veil piece by piece, and we will understand and see and live that the only thing remaining to save ourselves, each other and this planet, is love. Selflessly giving, powerful love.